The new Xbox Game Pass is here. Are these the features we need in Starfield? And we'll get the PlayStation perspective on the Xbox credit card. Let's discuss. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the weekend edition of Xbox Ready. Last weekend, we brought back our special two-host videos that we used to do before Jimmy moved away and did all this crazy stuff like buying a house and having a life, I guess. So we're back here with Mr. Jimmy Champagne himself. He runs the PlayStation version of this channel, PS Ready. And
That's right.
Yeah, and we are here to discuss the latest and greatest Xbox news going on this past week. How's it going, my man?
Not bad. That is all I've been doing, working on my house. It's just endless. I'm still playing some video games. I've been playing the newest game, Skyrim, quite a lot. About 50 hours in the past 2 weeks in Skyrim.
The latest FPS from Bethesda.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's pretty good, right? I think it's a good game. I've just been delving into dungeons, hitting guys with swords. It's pretty good.
And speaking of Skyrim is a game on Game Pass. I don't know if you've seen Skyrim on Game Pass,
Look
guys.
at this segue. Wow, that was
speaking
incredible.
of Game Pass, we got a new tier of Game Pass launching this week. This is something we've discussed on the channel before, Game Pass Core. Game Pass Core is effectively replacing Xbox Live Gold. There's not going to be any more Xbox Live Gold, no more games with Gold. It is now effectively Game Pass Core. And with Game Pass Core, you get access to Xbox Live, just like you did with Xbox Live Gold. The only difference is that there's no more games with Gold. You basically have like a Game Pass Lite subscription. So you don't have access to the whole library. You just have access to what we're seeing here is 36 games.
What 36 games?
The 36 games, I'm glad you asked.
Just the highlight reel.
Among Us, Astroneer, Celeste, Dead Cells, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal Standard Edition, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Firewatch, Forza Horizon 4 Standard Edition, Gang Beasts, Gears of War 5 Game of Year Edition, Golf with Your Friends, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade Senua Sacrifice, Human Fall Flat, Inside Limbo, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Overcooked 2, Payday, Crime Wave Edition, Power Wash Simulator, Psychonauts 2, Slay the Spire, Spiritfarer Farewell Edition, Stardew Valley, State of Decay 2, Superbliminal, The Elder Scrolls Online, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder Revenge, Unpacking, and Vampire Survivors. So no Skyrim.
That's
in
like
that.
an incredible. That's a great list of games, dude. That's really good. I don't even think you really need to get anything more than that, especially if you're like tuned into the Xbox ecosystem.
With Game Pass Core, obviously because it's Game Pass Lite, you do not get the day one new additions that come with the regular tiers of Game Pass. So you won't be playing day one Forza Motorsport with Game Pass Core, or you won't be playing Starfield, their newest stuff. It's kind of like PS Plus Extra in the way, because it's like gives you the essentials, I guess.
I feel like you get better games with this though. Like PS Plus Extra gives you Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, Demon Souls. Deathloop is leaving on the 19th, and then I'd imagine that Ghostwire Tokyo will leave early next year. So outside of that, there's not a lot of like PS5 exclusive games on there or games that got PS5 updates, whereas on this Xbox list, there's like a ton of great stuff on that list. That's kind of crazy, the stuff that they're offering up.
When Game Pass Core was first announced, there was kind of some back and forth of whether or not like this was a worthy replacement for Xbox Live Gold, especially because like you're not getting a free game every month. You know, we knew that games with Gold was going downhill, but there were still people upset about it being replaced by Game Pass Core. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Because what you just said, the games have been so bad on Game Pass Core on Xbox games with Gold for so long that it's like, I don't really care personally. I mean, both of these services, right? Like PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass and games with Gold, whatever you want to call it. I never really end up claiming most of the games because I own most of them just through getting codes or like sales in the past, because it's usually staggered, right? Like you got to wait a year or two before these things even show up on these services anyway. So to have a library like that that's kind of matching up with the PS Plus collection, which, rest in peace, was pretty much the same thing, where if you had PS Plus, you could just claim a whole collection of games on the PlayStation 5, and it was a really good list of games. It was a bunch of the PS4 exclusives. There was a lot of third-party stuff in there, like Resident Evil 7 and the base version of Persona 5, and Sony took that away. So to see Microsoft kind of come back with their version of that sort of PS Plus collection, but for Xbox, I don't think there's a bad way to look at this. If they were gonna hunker down and make it so that, yeah, Games with Gold had so many great games, that'd be one thing, but you can only split your money so many times, right? Like they gotta either pick if they want to have their streaming service do well or Games with Gold, and Games with Gold has not been the priority forever, so why not just get rid of it?
Sure, and they also, Games with Gold ran out of Xbox 360 games and older to bundle in because they had reached their backwards compatibility limit pretty much.
The 360 games you could keep even if you unsubscribed,
yes,
right?
Anything older than Xbox One you could keep forever, even if you weren't subscribed. And
that's pretty cool.
And all the games that you claimed during that time with Xbox Live Gold, that's still in play as long as you're like Xbox One and old, like newer games. As long as your subscription is active, you get to keep them. And for anything older than that, you get to keep them no matter what your subscription status is. Now, another part that was confusing people when this Game Pass Core was announced was that Game Pass Core, you have Xbox Live. Game Pass, you do not have Xbox Live. Game Pass Ultimate, you have Xbox Live. What are your thoughts?
I don't know, because can you just get Xbox Live now, or is Game Pass Core the only option?
Game Pass Core, from my understanding, is the only option.
Yeah, like why would you ever get Game Pass without Xbox Live then? That limits you so much on so many games. It's like, why do they even offer it? How much cheaper is just regular Game Pass?
So Game Pass Core is $10. It's the same price as Xbox Live Gold was before the transition to this new name. Xbox Game Pass, just the standard edition, is now $10.99. So it got a little bit of a price increase. Game Pass Ultimate is now $17, I believe, officially. It's looking like they want you to convert to Game Pass Ultimate if you want Game Pass and Live. I wonder if people are going to be cool with that, or if that's going to be an effective move for Xbox. It's definitely
so confusing.
It's a little bit confusing, but you could make the argument, I think, that if you just want to play the games, you don't give a damn about playing games online, you don't care about multiplayer, you just subscribe to Game Pass and you get all of the benefits that come with it, the whole library and things like that.
I feel like the way to go, regardless, is like if you're using your Xbox, like that's your main console, and you don't split your time between PS5, Switch, PC, and Xbox, you kind of have to get Game Pass Ultimate because then you get the games for free day one. But if you're just going to play a couple things a year on your Xbox, I would just go with Core and then buy games a la carte. Like they've made it kind of confusing. Like there's a lot of different ways to get a good deal depending on what kind of person you are.
Here's another thing that I think Xbox might have going for itself with this rebrand. By effectively renaming Xbox Live Gold to Game Pass Core, they've instantly taken all the people who are on Xbox Live Gold and now they've made them Xbox Game Pass subscribers. So suddenly, like, it's gonna look like Game Pass is like freaking popping off. I bet you will be hearing in a couple of months, or like maybe at Christmas, that, oh, Game Pass, we have like a bajillion new subscribers, and it's gonna look awesome for them.
That day one exclusive thing kind of is a defense against any criticism with the higher tiers, and then just having that core library of games for the $10 a month tier is like a nice little bonus to make you feel less bad about paying to use the internet on your Xbox, you know?
Yeah, no matter how you feel about Game Pass Core, it is here. It will be live by the time this video goes up. But speaking about the future of Xbox, the future of Game Pass, these changes that we are seeing in the Xbox business model, a big part of their success that they got going on right now is obviously Starfield. You cannot walk 2 feet in the Xbox, news cycle or ecosystem without hearing about Starfield, whether or not you care about it. And Starfield has obviously been a massive success for Xbox so far. It's been selling a lot of copies. It's been moving Xbox units. The review score on Metacritic is slipping a little bit, but in spite of everything, it's still going strong for Xbox. I think it's still doing what they intended to.
Yeah, the 2 reviews that came out that were low were like from sites that didn't get codes and were petty about it, like Salty Online. So I wonder why they rated it low,
They're capping, like the kids would say today. And good news for anyone who's out there journeying across the galaxy and Starfield, Bethesda has come out with a list of its apparently 6 most requested features by gamers, and they're going to be coming to Starfield soon via a patch.
Oh, I already read this.
You already read
I was so excited. I was so excited. I was like, yes. And then it said, I read it again, and it was like, these are coming in the future. And I was like, no, when? Tell me when. This brought me back to the Fallout 76 days when they do Inside the Vault every week, and it's the same website with the same font. And you would go on there and you'd read a patch, you'd be so excited, and then it'd be like, oh, this is coming next quarter. And you're like, but yeah, okay, run through them.
Brightness and contrast controls on console.
Shocked that wasn't there for HDR support.
HDR calibration menu is right under that. You could make the argument that probably should have been there. A lot of HDR monitors and TVs. A lot of people want to.
It feels like they just forgot.
HDR. Yeah,
like they're like, crap. That's like the last thing on their little list of like last touch-up things to put on.
And yeah, that would take care of a lot of. I see some criticism about like, oh, these worlds are kind of like grayscale, bland.
You were saying that to me when you were here. You and Jake, our friend Jake Baldino, were saying the same thing, that it looked kind of washed out. And I was like, oh, it looks fine on my computer. I downloaded the Xbox version because the saves transfer, and I was like, whoa, that is washed out.
Yeah,
it's very washed out.
This is a game that could benefit immensely from HDR calibration for sure. An FOV slider.
Important for a first-person shooter. I'd love to set it to 90. You can, on PC, you can go into the INI file, which is like a settings file, and you can change it in there. So I already did that. I set it to 90 like day one. It's very nice.
I'm playing on an ultra wide, so it's like
yours is 180.
Mine is like I literally have like 180
you can see
degree
people
vision.
behind you.
Like, it's so funny. Apparently a mod came out and within 12 hours of early access that allows players to do this, but NVIDIA DLSS support.
There's a lot of drama with that mod because the guy put it behind a paywall, which is crazy because it was literally like dragging and dropping files to get it activated. And like, it's like a one-time payment of $5 on his Patreon, but then it has like an authentication check, so you need to pay on every PC you want to install it on, which is crazy. And so like some other people figured out like how to do it themselves, and there's free versions of the mod, but like I'm glad it's officially being put in the game because NVIDIA is actually like tuning it to work well because there's different versions. Like you can do, it's like if you put DLSS 3 in, there's like different versions of DLSS 3, and some of them work with this specific game better than others. So the fact that NVIDIA is involved now is good, because I don't know if you saw the Digital Foundry video, but if you are running an NVIDIA card and like a Intel CPU, it's like 46% worse performance.
I did see that.
So I'm glad that, like,
I think the headline was like,
there.
it bizarrely runs worse on NVIDIA and Intel. Next is 32.9 ultra wide support on PC. Like that's pretty straightforward, and it'll only apply to like a very specific group of people, like just insane people who are willing to spring for like a
literal
dumb big
psychos.
monitor. Yeah, literal psychos. And then last but not least, an eat button for food. So you can eat it directly, like I guess when you see it, instead of picking it up, going into your inventory, and then eat it.
You can eat the worthless health regen food.
Those are the 6 that Bethesda is promising is coming soon to Starfield. I don't know if they're like the most highly requested. I would say the most highly requested from what I've seen are mini maps of towns, but okay, I mean, we'll get that.
The town map, I don't really care. I'm not in towns all that much.
I would like a town map. I would like a town map.
If you read the signs in the road, they tell you where the stuff is. But yeah, it would be nice to have the map.
Who's reading? What are some other things that would you say are priority to be added into this game?
Better CPU optimization so you can actually run it at 60 on PC would be awesome. Other than that, I don't really have many complaints with this game. Like, it'd be cool if they made it so you could land and take off from planets and there wasn't like as many loading screens, or like it was more just like making it more seamless. But ground vehicles would be cool, like an ATV or something.
You gotta have a ground
ride
vehicle.
Out of your ship.
You gotta have a ground vehicle, man.
Like a dirt bike. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Like,
it's exciting that even if like you're not, super excited, or maybe you are really excited about these changes coming to Starfield, continued support for this game is really cool. The fact that they're going to keep working on it, it kind of relieves the pressure of like, oh, I got to play through it all now.
right.
So it's like, there's always going to be hopefully something to come back to.
And they did say that the Creation Club is coming to it, so there will be paid mods. Like Bethesda handpicks their favorite mods and then charges for them. Like they give the money to the people who make them. And
mods, I mean, they're what make Bethesda games, right? And when they made mods available on consoles, like for the Skyrim Legendary Edition and for Fallout 4, it really took the whole experience to a new level. I'm really looking forward to see what Bethesda does in the future in terms of updates and DLC. There's tons of potential, right? Because there's tons of space. They can literally put whatever they want on whatever planet that they want. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what to do with it. I wanted to get your thoughts on this story that I talked about for Wednesday's video. As someone who owns a house, financially in pretty good standing, a gamer with good finances, the Xbox credit card issued by Barclays. Microsoft, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they have this Xbox credit card that's rolling out to Xbox insiders later this month.
It seems like just the most basic credit card you can get. Like you get discounts on game purchases, right? And you get 5% back from Game Pass, it looks like. Having a credit card tied into buying games, I feel like is a risky maneuver just because you're always going to be tempted to keep spending on it, and they'll probably give you a pretty high limit, and then you'll buy a bunch of games, you'll buy Game Pass, and then when the bill comes, you're going to be stuck with a huge payment every month. And if you want to like stick with the minimum, I'm not giving financial advice, I'm just pointing out facts. If you want to stick with the minimum, it's going to take you a decade to pay it off like every other credit card. I think you should probably do some research about credit cards, like maybe the Chase
APR can, like, from what I was reading about this, the APR can go as high as like over 30%, depending on like what your score is for this. So like, imagine
video games are like the one thing where I'm like, you should not put them on a credit card, because if you are having trouble justifying a $60 or $70 purchase, there's probably some other things that need to be evaluated, right? Like the rule of thumb I've always gone by is if you can't afford to buy 2 of something, you shouldn't be buying it. So if you can't afford like $140, you shouldn't be throwing down like Mortal Kombat Ultimate Edition for $100 on your credit card. You know what I mean?
Talking through it, it's like you can only use it for games and you can only use it for add-ons. You can't get cash back to use on like other purchases and stuff. No annual fee. I mean, that's pretty good, right? It's not like the worst card ever, but it's also like I could get another credit card, which can pretty much do the same thing. Except
you could get
like
one
I don't
probably
need...
through your bank that would give you a higher limit and better rewards. It'd be cool if it tied into those Microsoft rewards everyone loves so much, right? Like you got 2 times or whatever.
Yeah, but I guess that's the other upside of this, because it's separate, so you can use Microsoft rewards and your points of this credit card to get other stuff. Bet you weren't expecting a financial talk, a financial podcast when you clicked in.
Yeah, we have to say we're not
Ready.
giving financial advice though.
We're not giving financial advice. Don't buy Bitcoin.
We're telling you
whatever.
what we would do, which is maybe not get the Xbox card. Maybe look for another different kind of card.
But anyway, let's move on to another controversial topic that's erupted over the past week. For those of you who don't know, Unity is a very popular game engine. It's very popular with a lot of indie games, a lot of smaller games, and they recently changed their monetization policy to just like this insane thing. It used, from my understanding, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, it used to be like free to sign up, free to like subscribe, and now starting January 2024, they're changing it to where once you reach a certain install threshold, a certain sales threshold, they'll start charging you 20 cents for every download for the developer. So they're having to pay out of pocket. And then for bigger publishers like Microsoft, they're going to be charging like way more than that. And not only that, these new changes apply retroactively too. So before the effects take place, they're going to be collecting that 20 cents or however much like you've made using their engine. So that's kind of like the poor man's explanation of what's going on. But long story short, people are pissed. They are pissed. Cult of the Lamb is threatening to delete their entire game.
Yeah, I saw that. They're like, everyone get the game now because it's going away on January 1st.
Yep, unless because that's what their game is based off of. Rust is pissed. developers are coming out and saying, don't use Unity, don't do this. I believe Among Us is also using Unity as well, so they're gonna make like a ton of money from Among Us, because it's like not like they're gonna like change up their game or like release a new version of the game, you know? There's a lot of games on Game Pass too that Microsoft would have to probably foot the bill for, right? That use Unity.
I remember Unity when it came out, like the big deal with it was that it would work on iPhone and PC and Mac like seamlessly. And then we got a bunch of games on it, like Slender, the 8 Pages. It had a bunch of like trash horror games on Steam.
Yeah.
And then it's gotten a lot better over the years, but like there's like a Unity stank that you kind of know about. You're like, oh, is this a Unity game? So it's not like the greatest engine in the world, but then you get these other games like Cult of the Lamb or Silksong, the new Hollow Knight game, that are on Unity, and it's like, hold up.
Vampire Survivors.
Vampire Survivors.
Yes,
like, hold
sir.
up. I suddenly care about Unity. And it does suck, because if developers stop using Unity, what are they going to use? Unreal Engine 5. What is the most problem-ridden freaking open source engine out right now? Unreal 4 and 5. So it's like a lose-lose situation for everyone, including Unity, because no one's going to use their engine and they're going to lose money in the long term.
And Unity, if you have not heard, has responded to all this backlash, all this criticism. So I'm going to read a little bit of what they have to say to y'all. As many of you know, the Unity engine is in fact 2 substantial software components, the Unity editor and the Unity runtime. The Unity runtime is code that executes on player devices and makes made with Unity games work at scale with billions of monthly downloads. We are introducing a Unity runtime fee that is based upon each time a qualifying game is downloaded by an end user. We chose this because each time a game is downloaded, the Unity runtime is also installed. Also, we believe that an initial install-based fee allows creators to keep the ongoing financial gains from player engagement, unlike a revenue share. There's no way you could convince me that this new system is better for a developer than a straight-up rev split would be. That's insane.
I don't see how they come back from this, because even if they kind of walk it back and say like, okay, we're not going to do that, no one's going to trust them enough to use their engine again. You know, they're going to say, well, in the future you could just do this, and you've already shown that you're willing to at least throw it out there and pretend like you're going to do it. So I'm probably going to go with another avenue here. I mean, on both ends of the spectrum, right? Like indie developers would be stupid to go with it from this point forward, and AAA devs probably just don't want the headache, right? Like they could make a deal with Unity behind the scenes or something, but is it worth it, right? Like now you got this like stigma attached to you, like, oh, that's a Unity game, they screwed everyone over. It's like with Activision Blizzard, how everyone remembers all their stuff, you know?
Yeah, and Unity has since confirmed to Axios that these new financial terms, Microsoft, for whatever game on Game Pass uses Unity, would be the ones to foot the bill.
Oh.
They said, as for Game Pass and other subscription services, Mark Whitten, president of Create Studios at Unity, said that developers like Aggro Crab would not be on the hook, as the fees are charged to distributors, which in the Game Pass example would be Microsoft. And that makes you, it's got to make you wonder, like, that adds so much more pressure to developers who are trying to get their games on Game Pass, right? Because now Microsoft is having to account for a new cost, and like, would it be worth it to them? And that sucks, because there are so many great indie games, like we're saying, that are on Game Pass, that are on the Game Pass library, that it's a shame that with these new terms and with these new, like, this new agreement, that could potentially get in the way for any people who are not on Game Pass already, that are using Unity to get their game onto the service.
They're definitely going to walk this back, and then they're going to not have a lot of games on Unity, and it's going to be a huge problem for a little while, I think.
It is a bummer. Again, probably won't feel the effects until something like, oh, Hollow Knight Silksong is delayed again, and then everyone is, and then I'll be like, off.
Well, I mean, like, I just assume that game's never coming out at this point, so what's another 5-year delay, right?
What's another 5 years is crazy. 5 years is crazy. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all the Xbox news that me and Jimmy have to talk to you about today. We'll see you in the next video, y'all.